Frank Isola, the New York Daily News, joining me here again here on the Rich Eisen Show. Help me out here, Frank. Can you help me out here?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
All right. So why does Phil Jackson want Carmelo Anthony out of town so badly, Frank?
Well, I think he's probably figuring it's time for the Knicks to rebuild and to build around Kristaps Porzingis. If you kind of give up on this season, right now there's 7 games under 500. Doesn't look like they'll be a playoff team. The draft is actually pretty good, so maybe now is kind of the time to tank a little bit. And if you do trade Carmelo Anthony, that would be a part of it. But I think, the relationship between Carmelo and Phil is not great. I think they figure that, Carmelo being 32, 33 years old, still has a couple years left on his contract, so why not try to get somebody younger for him? And I think that's why Cleveland wasn't interested in the deal, because Kevin Love, first of all, he's younger. And last year, he didn't really play that well, and they won a championship with him. This year, he's actually playing better. So I don't think from the Cleveland side it makes much sense.
No, it doesn't at all. But the reason why they tried it is because they thought that Cleveland would be one of the few teams that Carmelo would give up his no-trade clause to go to?
Maybe that's it, or, whatever Phil is doing, anything that he does, whether it's kind of taking subtle shots at Carmelo in the media, this thing that just happened with this report coming out about Cleveland, is he doing it to upset Carmelo? Is he doing it to upset the boss? Is he doing it because he's Phil Jackson? He could do whatever he wants. I don't know. It's probably a combination of all three of those. I do know that Carmelo had said last week in the meeting that he had with Phil Jackson on that Tuesday that he's not going to waive his no trade clause, that he wants to stay in New York, and then Phil went out and called Cleveland anyway. I'm assuming that he's thinking, well, he'll go to Cleveland because it's LeBron, and he has always talked about wanting to play with LeBron. But you do have to admit, it is kind of interesting because LeBron has been pretty vocal the past week. You have this stuff going on with Carmelo, and then you have Dwayne Wade 3 times this week has kind of talked about his future with the team, and then last night he kind of went off on his teammates, wondering if they don't care enough. So that Banana Boat crew is like, things are starting to heat up a little bit.
Yeah, so Frank Isola, the Daily News, joining me here. So have you or your colleagues been able to nail down the timing when LeBron said what he said about being a top-heavy team earlier this week? Was that maybe in reaction to knowing the Cavs nuked this deal, or that he was all for the Cavs nuking this deal and just got frustrated knowing that might be the best chance anyway? Or what's the timing of this with Phil knocking on the door?
Sure, but I think that the Knicks probably called before LeBron said that stuff. But remember, in that rift that LeBron had after they lost, they got they were down by a lot to New Orleans. They did make it close at the end, but New Orleans beat them without Anthony Davis playing. LeBron did mention that they're top-heavy, but he mentioned himself, Kyrie Irving, and he included Kevin Love in that. So it wasn't like he's floating it out there that, we can't win with Kevin Love. That seemed to be the sense that you got last year and the year before that. You know what, maybe this isn't going to work with Kevin Love. I kind of think that that's changed the way that Love has played this year. In fact, today he'll probably get named as a reserve to the All-Star team. So it's been a lot different for Kevin Love. So, and as you know, too, whenever you're talking about a guy like Carmelo Anthony and all that money he makes, these deals become complicated just trying to kind of match up the salaries.
And Frank Isola, the Daily News, joining me here. Frank, I read your stuff all the time. Let's get to the final paragraph of your recent tome in your newspaper about where James Dolan might land on all this, the owner of the Knicks, and how that might all play out in the wash, Frank.
Yeah, and as you know, Rich, you go all the way back to, Jeff Van Gundy and Ernie Grunfeld, and Jim Dolan kind of stepped in there. Then you had Larry Brown, Stephon Marbury, and Isaiah Thomas, and this is kind of similar to that. But it's really not Carmelo's the one who's kind of going back and forth with Phil. It's really more Phil going after the star player. I mean, you tell me, where do you ever see a team president kind of always poking his best player through the media? You don't really see this happen that often. It's one thing for it to be the coach. It's another thing for it to be the team president. I'm sure that Jim Dolan can't enjoy this, that it's a guy in his own organization that he's paying a lot of money to. People say $12 million. I've heard it's like might be closer to $15 million a year. And it seems like Phil's the one that's starting all this trouble. Remember, in early December, they were the third best team in the Eastern Conference, and that's when he started taking these shots at Carmelo, that he stalls the offense and all this other stuff.
So what do you think he'll do? I mean, is he going to land on the part of just telling Phil this is not working out, get out of here, and then keep Hornacek and try and build around Carmelo and Porzingis? Is that what you're saying?
I do think that Jim Nolan would want Carmelo Anthony on the team. I do think if you traded Derrick Rose and maybe in the second half of the season you rested Carmelo a little bit, you're falling into the lottery, you improve your position, maybe you get a high pick, and then you could, kind of reload over the summer. I don't believe for a minute that Carmelo really wants to leave, and I don't think that Jim Dolan wants him to leave. Remember, Jim Dolan was heavily involved in the deal for Carmelo, 5-6 years ago, right around the All-Star game out in L.A. So I don't see it, but I also don't see him getting rid of Phil Jackson. I kind of see right now him thinking, we're going to try to make this work somehow, and Phil, I need you to stop taking shots at our best player in the media.
So wait a minute, the Knicks actually own their lottery pick this year, Frank? You mean
Yes,
Isaiah didn't give it away for somebody that's already been off the team for 18 years? That actually happened? Really?
You should come in on draft night for we'll have a little draft party when they get their big lottery pick.
Well, let's hope they step in it again and take somebody that makes the rest of the city cry and now is the purple unicorn. That would be wonderful if that happens again. I mean,
they definitely, if they hit a home run with him, that's for sure.
No, all right. So last thing, does Carmelo or Dwayne Wade actually wind up on the Cavs? Do you think?
I actually could see Dwayne Wade. I really could. First of all, he doesn't have a no trade clause, so the Bulls can do whatever they want. And he keeps talking about adding a playmaker. And right now, you could start Wade at shooting guard, and eventually, when J.R. Smith comes back, he's a better 3-point shooter than Dwayne Wade. Would you consider making Dwayne Wade the sixth man, the first guy you bring in off the bench, who I'm sure would be on the court in the fourth quarter? I'm sure it's something that LeBron has thought about. Frank,
love having you on. Let's do it again soon. Thanks for the knowledge.
Yeah, have fun at Houston, all right?
All right, brother. You got it. That's at F Isola, NYDN.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.